Okay, we got all, oh, everyone got a jelly plate? Do you remember these?
Yes.
Everyone got a jelly plate? This is like my favorite thing. Wait till you start playing with that. You're gonna love it. Love, love, love it. Oh, we all got new scissors, right? Everybody needs to open up and unpack your scissors. Okay. Okay. Paintbrushes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, shoot. I brought these places on purpose. Walnut ink. Walnut ink. And I guess the rest is paint. All right, we haven't done my mouth. Okay, so the rest is paint. All right, great. So I think I talked to everybody last week about maybe pulling aside a box or some things that you think you might want to work with in this class. I'm gonna get an apron. I'm gonna get an apron on. Hang on 1 second. You want an apron for it? Yeah. All right, we're gonna get our aprons on. So a lot of times when I get ready for art or my students come into my room, I get an apron on, right? Because then I'm not as worried about getting messy, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put my apron on. Also, if you guys at home, you might want to get some additional material. And I use these a lot. These are my favorite. I also cover my table. Does everybody see how I covered my table with craft paper? That way I don't have to worry so much about making the mess. And if I do make a big mess, I can just roll up the paper and throw it away. Okay, so at the end of the day, it saves me time as far as cleanup goes. I also use these styrofoam plates, but if you have an old plate or a plate that you're not eating on anymore, an extra plate, you can use that, but this is super good for the glue. Okay, so today we're gonna start our first lesson in some collage material and working with collage. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and use the plate and put the glue on the plate, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and open the PVA glue. This is a wonderful glue. It's actually used for bookbinding. So it's super smooth. It can be watered down and it can easily be cleaned. So I'm gonna make a little puddle, right? Or maybe like a fairly big puddle. I'm not gonna pour the whole bottle out there, but I'm gonna make a little bit like this, right? On my plate. And then I've got probably, oh, look, my box. Everybody should have gotten 2 sizes of foam brush. For some reason, I only got 1 size, but I know I have another size here. Okay. So Corey and I are gonna go into our closet. Here at school, we have what I call the collage bin, and I'm gonna go grab that. And we're gonna start cutting. We're gonna talk about cutting.
Are we supposed to be doing what you do? Or we just
I
watching?
don't know, I was asking the same thing.
You guys, our collage bin at school is very large. Do you see it? So we have this entire bucket filled with paper. These are things that I can start using for my collage, right? Does anybody have any materials that they made or?
Copy.
Oh, okay, great. You have some copies? Great. Okay.
Oh, that's the right letter.
Oh yeah, hang on, let me see. Oh, that's awesome. Good for you. I'm gonna go ahead and pin you for a second. And then we can see. Okay, go ahead, hold it up now, Stan. Let's see. Oh, is it a copy of a letter?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Beautiful. Excellent. Does anybody have, what else do you have? Oh, nice. Oh, some old photographs. Oh, I love them. Okay, great. Beautiful. Does anybody have art material that that they want to share? So today, thank you for sharing, Sue-Ann. That's great. Hold on, I'm going to make myself the pin again. So today, I'd like to talk about just what I call a base layer. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about a base layer. So what I want everybody to do is take their scissors right? And the reason I call this layer a base layer is because it's gonna be in the back. So everybody has 5 boards. I'm gonna go ahead and give Corey a board, and I'm gonna take a board, okay? If you're the type of person that only likes to work on one artwork at a time, that's totally fine. But I personally like to work on more than one piece. What about you? Do you like to work on more than one at a time or one at a time?
One at a time.
All right, Corey says she's gonna do one at a time. I'm gonna do 2, just because I like to work quickly, and I'm gonna go ahead and just do 2 at a time. All right, so I'm gonna put 2 boards back in my box.
Miss Leah,
Yes,
are we supposed to do this or just watch?
you're supposed to do it,
Okay.
because I feel like you won't do, I know a lot of people, in my experience, when they take art classes, that they do it when they're in the class, and that they tend not to do it when they're on their own. Do you do art at home?
Okay.
I mean, I do art all the time because that's my job, but a lot of people like to be instructed and walk through the process. So that's why I was saying that we would unpack the box together, and if you can, grab a little plate. It could be a tea plate, it could be a plastic plate, it could be a found plate. You could also use a Tupperware container. The nice thing about using a Tupperware container with glue is that you can put the top on it and it'll stay glue. It won't dry, right? So you could reuse it tomorrow or the next day. So if you do have a Tupperware container, that's a great way to sort of save your glue, that it won't dry out, right? Just a little tip there. Okay, we're not gonna use these paintbrushes at all, so I'm gonna put them to the side. We're not gonna use any of the paint. Oh, you just. Not use any of the paints today. We're not gonna use the brayer today, and we're not using the jelly plate today, but I will let you know when we are. We might use this today, the walnut ink. We're gonna use the newsprint, and we're gonna use the foam brushes. Now, I have a lot of foam brushes.
Go get this thing.
So I think I gave you guys the 1 inch, right? Which is like this, right? Does everybody have this one?
Yes, I have that.
Okay, so this one's, it might be easier. This one, of course, is for larger. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give Corey a plate too. So she has her own plate, right? So if you had a friend with you or whatever, I'm gonna give Corey her own glue. Now, the nice thing about PVA glue is if it is acting too thick, you can add a little bit of water to it. So I know some artists like it thinner. I don't really add water to it, but you could. I'm just, also, if anybody has ever done like paper mache, I mean, you can basically turn paper into like almost like a pulp and glue it, and when it dries, it will dry back to paper. So paper has a lot of, it comes from wet, it's made wet. So it can be wet, it can be manipulated, it can be crunched up. So there's a lot of things that can be done with paper. So some of the things that I like to do in the beginning are use my scissors and or maybe even do a little bit of drawing. If you have your found objects, like some papers, family photos, or if you have some newspapers, I'm gonna maybe use some newspapers. Corey and I are both picking through the collage book now. I have a lot of things to do after here. So I had a lot of photos. I'm gonna go with a gray palette, meaning that I'm just gonna do my first layer of the collage in neutral tones, which are gonna be gray and white. I'm not saying that anybody has to do what I'm doing, but I do think that your first layer of your collage should be light colors, and they should be matching, meaning, does anybody know what monochromatic colors are? Colors that are close together, right? So gray and white are close together. Can anybody think of two other colors that are close together?
Pink
What
and red.
about, what? Close
Pink and
together.
red.
What, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Pink
You could
and
do
red.
Pink and red, yes, pink and red are close together. What about like what about like blue and beige, right? Like light blue and beige are nice together. You could do green and yellow together. I'm assuming that most people have either color, non-color, like black and white, Xeroxes or old letters or pictures from magazines. So I like the edge, like this is a torn edge. Does everybody see a torn edge? So sometimes for me, I just like to get loose. And by getting loose, I start tearing paper. Okay, that's sometimes one of the first things I do is I just start what I call disassembling an area. And sometimes things like this happen where I get a curve or I get an interesting shape. So you can just go ahead and do what I do. Then the next thing I might do is free cut a couple pieces, right? And when I free cut, I just kind of go into it, not really thinking too much, but just enjoying the scissors, right? And I think I mentioned to you guys that I went crazy this year with my school supplies. I think I've got 30 sets of scissors, but just so you know that they're out there, these scissors have different edgings. So do you see what I'm talking? So each of the pairs of scissors is actually made to make a different type of cut line, which I think is fun because it just gives you another sort of method of creating a pattern or a texture with a tool, right? So if we could all just spend a few minutes, like I'm going to time us, it's 2:48. Let's spend about 5 minutes maybe tearing or cutting paper, and then you can sort of see what we end up making. Like I made this really cool little spiral, right, by just cutting around. I made this really cool like curve shape, right? And I think I mentioned maybe in one of our other classes about famous artists who cut paper. And I mean, cutting is the same to me as drawing, right? So the difference is when you draw, you're using a pencil to make a shape or make something. But when you're cutting, you're doing the similar thing. You're just using scissors. You're basically eliminating the shape from other shapes. So I'm a big fan of flowers. So I, of course, tend to make teardrop shapes, right? And I do believe that everybody has this thing within them called context and syntax. And context means that you kind of have shapes or forms that you're drawn to, that you're just more interested in than other shapes. So some people might like squares. Corey, do you like squares or circles? Circles. So Corey likes circles. What about you, Edwina? What's your favorite shape? What about you, Sue-Ann? What's your favorite shape?
Diamond.
A diamond?
I like hearts.
Oh, you like hearts. I like diamonds. Who said diamonds? Diane, did you say diamonds?
I love diamonds.
Edwina.
Oh, that was Edwina's? Oh, diamonds. Nice one. So diamonds are super cool. Oh my God, Edwina, look at this piece of artwork. I'm doing this with the kids right now.
And
Like
triangles.
circles. Too.
This is so cool. We're basically doing
Yeah, triangles, that's a good one.
Edwina, we're doing this project. Isn't that
Oh, yeah.
awesome?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can stick that. That's pretty.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, that was my inspiration. I'm doing that with the kids. And so what we're doing is we're basically using like strips of paper in rectangles and formulating diamonds with the rectangles. So that's kind of fun. I mean, the thing about art, really, you guys, is it can be any theme, idea, concept. You can really, go pretty far with it. And if you see something that you like, you can definitely use that as inspiration. So I like that picture for a lot of reasons. I like the colors. I like the repetitive patterning. There were a lot of things I liked about it. Okay, one of the things too I wanted to mention is that while we're cutting, I always keep my cut out. So do you see this thing? I enjoy what's missing from here as much as I enjoy what I made. So I try to keep both my inside line and my outside. So you could call it like a silhouette, but I like to keep the frame that I took the image out of, okay? I just think it's kind of interesting. And you can also see here, if you watch me cut, that I tend to like to cut in loops. So a lot of my cuts look like this, right? So they're kind of like, I don't know, what does this look like? A blob, a squiggly, right? So Corey called it a squiggly. Thanks, Corey. Corey's gonna give me some extra vocabulary because her brain is young and alive. Whereas mine is a little slower. She's quick. I'm a little slower, especially after being around kids all day, right? All right. So let's take about 2 or 3 more minutes and then I'm gonna start to make a collage.
And right now we're just cutting out different shapes, right?
Yeah, right now you're just free cutting. It's almost like I just gave you an assignment. I literally just said, take 10 minutes and cut up a bunch of papers and just do, like, let your hand go. Like, let the shapes happen. Like, whatever, you know, maybe you're very interested in the subject matter. Maybe you're just interested in the free shape, right? So just let your kind of mind and hand go free and just express yourself, right? I might add one color to this, but the reason too that I wanted this to be monochromatic is I want my other layers, which might be the walnut ink or the jelly, I want the other layers that I do in the future to show up. So, and this is kind of a neat technique too. So with this one, what I did was I just cut from the outside, right? A bunch of little X's, just kind of cut it. So I made like empty space, right? All right, so let's do about 2 or 3 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have anything they'd like to share or something that they've noticed while they were cutting?
Oh, wow.
Does everybody have a good pile? Oh, look at.
It's fun to cut with picking shears.
Right, so I wanted you to notice too the difference of sort of ripping, right, versus cutting, right? So ripping, we just really don't have any control over what we're doing, right? Whereas cutting, we have more control, but we can also do, we can let that control go, right? We can cut sort of not specifically. I'm definitely going for gray tones today. I don't know, I'm in a gray mood. I wore gray today. I'm feeling gray today. Maybe it's all the snow. I just need more sunshine, but I'm gonna go gray as my base color. And I'm gonna show you guys my little pile. And I think I've mentioned this in multiple meetings that we've had previously, but like, I like the idea of collecting. Oh, that's a pretty one. I like the idea of collecting and then sorting and collecting and sorting. It's sort of a rhythm that I go through. So I kind of collect a bunch of material and then lay out a collage when I sort. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a picture of my table. So you can see my mess, right? That's all the stuff I collected, right? So I just basically, let's see what Corey collected. Corey collected a bunch of stuff too. So she's gonna show you. Oh, cute. Corey collected butterflies, a pattern. Oh, some black and white stuff. Oh, Corey collected a lot of, oh, look, she made a heart. Beautiful. Okay, great. All right. So now what Corey and I are gonna do is we're going to do what I'd call a rough draft. Does everybody know that term, rough draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna basically Corey and I are gonna take all of our papers and we're gonna push them off the boards, right? And then I'm gonna take, we're gonna time this too. Let's take about, I don't know, Corey, how long? Let's take a couple minutes, if that long. And if you wanna watch us do it, you can, and then you guys can do it. But we're basically gonna do a layout. So we're gonna go, I always go with the background first, right? And then I lay things down. I don't glue yet. I just lay a bunch of stuff down on the board in an arrangement that I think is interesting.
Now, which way you have the board, Leanne? Is it a portrait size or vertical?
Oh, that's a great question.
Landscape or,
That is
portrait.
totally optional.
okay.
But I will say, that is a really good question. Edwina, did you ask that question?
Say that
That was-
again?
That was a great question. So the question was, are we working vertically or horizontally, right? So this tends to be called portrait and this tends to be called landscape.
Yeah.
I'm a vertical person. So most of what I do is vertical. Does anybody else have a preference?
I like landscape.
Okay.
I like horizontal.
I like landscape.
Okay, so horizontal means up and down. Oh, horizontal means sideways, sorry, vertical means up and down. So Diane, you're gonna do horizontal?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it really matter?
I think for the piece, I think right now it doesn't matter, but I think when we make the group piece and our pieces have to go back together, we're all gonna have to take a vote and we're gonna all, do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So for today, it's optional. And just on that note, I'm gonna do one horizontal and I'm gonna do one vertical, okay?
Okay.
And so what I'm really trying to encourage everybody is to do what I call a rough draft, where we're basically gonna lay out the collage on the board before we glue it. And that way we can sort of look at it and maybe move stuff around. Also notice that I'm using the board like without, you don't have to cover the whole board. If that's something that you wanna do, you can, but it's not necessary, right? To cover the whole board.
Okay.
You can leave brown spaces behind the board because what we're gonna do next week is we're gonna introduce the brayer and painting a layer and adding some texture with paint next week. So do not feel like burdened by covering the whole board. Actually, and we are also, please keep in mind, going to add more than one layer to this collage. So this work that we're doing today doesn't have to be the end, right? This is just a beginning, okay? So keep it loose, right? Because the idea is that we're going to layer and layer and layer this board each week as we learn sort of more techniques, you know, and we try different styles and we paint a little and we use our brayer. So each week we're gonna add to the work, okay? But, and also I like to overlap stuff. So overlapping stuff for me is fun, right? So I like things to go over and under each other, right? So,
We're not gluing, we're just laying stuff on the board.
yep, we're just laying stuff on the board so you can take a look at it, right? So you can take a look at it and then I don't know about you guys, but I like to do, I like to keep like a record or a diary of my work. And so I like to take pictures of the collages before I glue them down.
Okay.
And that helps me decide if I like them, right? Because if I
So
look,
you can layer, you can put it different shapes on on top of each other.
yep, hang on. I put different papers on top of each other, and sort of like all over. Here, I'll show, can you guys see my tabletop? I'm gonna hold the, can you see? Those are my collages.
So right now, they're not any color to it, just white.
They're just beige, right? There's no color. You can add a color if you wanted to, but because I gave everybody so much paint and stuff, I thought we would sort of add color later in the collage. I thought
Okay.
we'd start out in neutral tones so that they're easier to add color later. If there's a
Can I-
color,
But
Can I see it again, Leah?
of course.
will it be all right if I paint my board first?
What
Hello?
color? Yeah, what color do you want to paint your board? White?
I like lavender.
Okay. If you want to
like-
paint your board first, you can. but you're going to have to paint your board. I would prefer that you did the collage first and that we painted it lavender next week. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Because we're gonna build layers, and so what's nice, I think, is about having empty board and paper and sort of openings in the art before we paint it, right? So yes, and this collage, my collage is mostly brown, black, white, and gray. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my phone real quick. And I'm gonna take a quick snap picture of my collages so that basically I can show you what it looks like. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and take pictures of my collages. The other reason I take pictures is sometimes when I dismantle them and put them back together, I can check the photo to see if I put it back together correctly, right?
Oh.
Hey,
Okay,
will you call me when y'all ready?
Okay, this is actually already out her office. I'm just not sure where she went.
Okay, just give me a holler, please. Thank you.
Okay, so this is how I prepared my glue, and this is my foam brush, right?
Mm-hmm.
Corey, are you done your rough draft? All right, Corey's done her rough draft too. She's gonna show us. I can pick up the laptop and show you guys. I'm gonna say, there's Corey's. Put your piece back on there, yep. So she did bigger pieces. I did a lot of little pieces, but she did bigger pieces. So that's gonna be her backdrop, right? So she did black pattern. She did a little charcoal drawing she had, some newspaper. Okay.
Go ahead.
So now I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing. So I'm gonna do one. Did anybody do more than one, or am I the only one that did more than one?
I only did one, because,
Okay, that's
you-
fine.
so
Right.
are we gluing the shapes on the board?
Yep, we're gonna glue whatever pieces that you have on your board down. So I'm gonna start with this one. I'm gonna put this one over here. I'm gonna start with this one. And sometimes what I do is I just remove pieces like an area at a time. So I'm gonna work on this corner, right? So I'm gonna take the piece off. I have this nice brown paper on my table. So I'm just gonna take my foam brush and the glue, and I'm just gonna put the glue on the back of the paper. I don't put the glue on the panel. I put the glue on the paper.
Okay.
Okay, and that way I can move the glue, I can move the paper around to where I want it, right? If I have too much glue on my board, it just gets glue everywhere, and then I'm not happy with that. Okay, so there you go. I have the first piece of newsprint. And also that's why I really bought everybody the newsprint pads, is I just love collaging with newsprint. So I kind of encouraged you all to use the newsprint, either to cut it up or tear it up or something, or use it as background pieces, just because I love the quality and texture of newsprint paper so much. But let me tell you this too, this collage that we are making right now is going to be probably so far gone by the end of all that we're going to add to it. So don't get really too caught up in this initial collage. This is just like a very freeing exercise to get some paper and texture down on your board, okay? It's definitely not going to be like, it's definitely not the end all. We're going to do a lot to this board as we progress. Now you guys all have 5 boards, so I would theoretically like each of the boards to be handled in the same fashion as this one is being handled. And that means that maybe you're doing a little bit of work on your own or outside of class time, okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so again, I'm just kind of generally, I'm not being too specific, but I'm just generally gluing these pieces down. Is everybody clear on how to get the glue on there? Flip
Yes.
the piece over, use the foam brush. You could use your fingers if you're not afraid of getting dirty.
Okay.
And you could definitely,
I like getting my fingers in the glue.
aw, well, go ahead and do that then. That sounds fun. I know, you know what, I always get glue on my fingers too. And also make sure, if you can, that you're not getting any wrinkles. So one of the things that you can do to prevent wrinkles is get a little piece of cardboard or a scraper. You could even use a spoon. If you have a spoon, you can use a spoon and do what's called like a burnishing technique. And look, did you see how that spoon just ripped that paper? So I guess I pressed too hard. Hold on. But you can gently kind of like use the spoon to get the air bubbles out of the paper and maybe make the paper a little bit flatter on the board. And if you rip it, that's fine, just rip it. I mean, I don't, you know, that happens, you know, these things happen in art. Sometimes these happenings or mistakes are beautiful happenings, right? They're like, oh, okay, you didn't want to be there. All right.
And this might sound funny, but I used an old soft toothbrush.
You used an old toothbrush, the back of the toothbrush or the bristly part? Or the other part?
The soft bristles got out all the wrinkles.
Oh, wow, that's an interesting tool. I never thought of that. Now I know what to do with all my old toothbrushes, right? Never throw away anything, right? Never. You don't know when you're gonna be able to use it. So it is a little challenging. I think once your fingers get a little too sticky, and you're trying to glue pieces of paper down, you can use like baby wipes or something like that on your table to kind of periodically clean your hands if you don't feel like washing your hands every few minutes. I sometimes just wipe them off on my apron, and that does a decent job. All right. And if your papers are too big, what I like to do is just cut them into segments and put the glue on smaller segments. So I don't, even if I'm gluing a very large piece of paper to a panel, I never, ever, ever glue it in one big piece. Does that make sense? I'll even cut it up into
Yes,
quarters.
like a puzzle.
Yeah, I'll cut it up like a puzzle. Exactly, Diane. And then I'll put it together with the glue, which I actually really like because I have quite a bit of experience sewing. I sewed as a child, and then as a young adult, I sewed crazy quilts. I actually made a lot of like handmade blankets. And so I would sew them in sections, you know, in pieces, which was a lot easier to handle mentally than trying to do the whole big thing at one time. I would just work on a little bit in a section, right?
Yeah.
It's actually very, I think, relaxing to divide something up that's maybe intimidating and work on it in smaller pieces so that it doesn't feel daunting. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So
Yeah,
I'm really loving, I wish I was able to buy everybody those craft scissors. And I will share links to, I actually bought those craft scissors, you guys, I think from NASCO, but you can find craft scissors on Amazon under craft scissors, and they just have all those different interesting edges, like this edge that has the little holes missing in it. And I can tell you right now that what I'm liking about this collage is the positive, which is where the paper is, and also the negative spaces of the collage, right?
Okay, wait a minute, but
Go ahead. Edwina, do you have a question? So, and if you're using any of your, you know, materials from home or your old letters or your family photos, remember I recommended that you copy them and that you don't use originals, right?
Right.
I just like the idea that, you know, something that's great source material can be used more than one time. If you use the original, then that's it, it's done. It's one and done. Put these. It's funny, like I'm not, this last piece, I can't even really remember where I had it. Now I could check back to my photo. I'm gonna reference back to my photo. Let's see. Yeah, it's funny. So my piece changed a lot from before and after. And if you need more glue, So
It's
Corey,
amazing how much glue you could use.
well, right, that's another reason, Diane, that you might want to add some water to it, right?
Yes.
Because that'll also help it, I'm not talking about a lot of water, but a little bit of water will also help it last longer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Also, I'm going over some second layers. Is anybody done their whole first collage? No, I did two and I'm barely finishing one. Everybody's working? Okay. So we can definitely compare and contrast before and after. And let's see.
So I'm gonna keep this part.
Corey, so Corey, I'm gonna show you guys Corey's and I'm just gonna make a suggestion to Corey. So come on over, Corey. So here's Corey's, right? So she's the first one done. And I think it looks great, but I'm gonna suggest to her that she go around and she try to make all of these layers really smooth. Also, when you're working on a collage, if you have pieces that are sticking out like this, you're gonna wanna go in with a finger or your brush and get behind that piece, right? And then glue that back down, okay? So you wanna try to even get the tiniest little pieces glued down. If you have little fray marks or little extra, stragglers, we could call them, then you can kind of just put the glue on the substrate, use your fingers, and just really try to press that down so that there's nothing sticking up, right? And again, this is a perfect example where negative space between this and this made this white piece really nice and interesting sticking up right here. And then I'm gonna tell her the same, like this whole lip right here, it's not glued down, just to go ahead and stick glue inside there and press it down. And just squish it with your fingers, right? So you don't want any air bubbles. Like if you see any air bubbles, just rub on them and try to squish them out. Okay, and then work on this corner. Okay, good job. So I didn't have that problem because I didn't use any papers that were very thick, right? My papers were all relatively thin, meaning they were Xerox paper or newsprint or newspaper, right? So I particularly use those types of papers because they don't give me any resistance with the glue. They just go down nice and smooth. And sometimes I get dirt behind them, which might give me like a little bump, but I actually just don't mind that. And we're gonna talk about, I forgot to give everybody sandpaper. Did you guys hear me? I forgot to give you the sandpaper. So maybe you guys have it at home. If not, I'll just demo it. Does everybody have sandpaper at home?
I have some.
I have some.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. That was like the icing on the cake. That was the last thing I was supposed to put in the box. I apologize. I did not get that in the box. But, I got a lot of other things in the box.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
was, my husband's eyes were popping out of his head.
Ah, well, good. I hope he was jealous.
He was.
Well, good. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. All right, I'm gonna stick a couple more little things on here, and then I think if anybody is done, we can do a little show and tell. And then if you started another one, but you didn't finish it, you could work on that one, and we'll probably end up wrapping up for today. Okay, so I'm gonna stick a couple more pieces on here, just to get some more layers going. I feel like,
Regular pictures, these pictures down.
say what? Do you have a
Can I put
question?
these pictures on the, yes. Can I put like pictures of my dog on my collage?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can put anything you want in your collage, but I wouldn't, this is not the layer for important content. This is the layer, a background layer. So a background layer to me is usually more general, non-specific, and neutral colors. This is what we're calling a background layer. Okay, so
Okay.
when you get to the more important layers, I would think that that's where you put important pictures of people or things. But if you want that image to be part of the background layer, then totally put it on now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why I didn't really do any imagery for this layer. I did mostly neutral tones and abstraction, right? I did a lot of just design and shape, and I didn't really do anything with content. Did everybody notice that? I didn't do any what I would call recognizable imagery. I didn't do any people, dogs, faces, flat, right? I just did abstraction. And this is what I usually do for our background layer. Because we've got plenty of time, right, in the future to add more of what I would call a theme or a subject, right? Okay. All right, so mine got pretty creative and didn't follow probably my original, but it did. And again, like I love these opening spaces, right? Like this piece here was actually the background or the opening of one of those other spaces I cut out. Okay, so I think mine is done and Corey's is done. Here, Corey, let me see yours. And I'll take a picture of it. And for next week, I'll show you. Here's mine and here's Corey's. And again, like I started out with this panel going in one direction, but you know, there are plenty of opportunities to rotate a panel as you're working on it and change the orientation of the panel if you see fit. Like, I mean, Corey wasn't working on this direction, but she could decide as the artist that she likes it better upside down than right side up, right? So it's up to the artist. You can change your mind at any time which direction the artwork goes. Okay, I don't, except like her butterflies going up. I mean, I usually think it's content, but people could be upside down. It would be fine. Okay, so if you feel like you've gotten everything glued down and there's nothing sticking up, we can share for a few minutes or we can do a question and answer. If any time you need to go, you can go, get ready to leave. If you want to stay, you can stay. Corey has to leave at 3:30 to go home. So does anybody want to share theirs? I can make myself smaller. I'm going to go to gallery view. Hi, did anybody, Mina, did you make a collage?
I did. I can show mine first if you like.
Sure, go ahead. All right, Hamina's going to show hers.
So this is kind of what I have so far. So when you were talking about the different shapes, I started to cut different like triangles in different sizes, and then I kind of like stuck them up. And then on this one, I kind of just when I was like ripping the paper, just decided to like put it in the corner. And then I wasn't originally kind of going for this, but like since the theme for this is kind of home, it seems like my mind was kind of just like going for like some sort of like landscape or like my imagery of like some sort of neighborhood. So it kind of seems like this resembles like the sun, even though like it's in different shapes. And then this kind of like just reminded me, even though it's pretty like blank and doesn't have anything, as of the rainbow.
Oh,
And then
nice.
these like different this thing right here, I noticed that the different once I put them all together, it kind of resembled like some sort of like shape of house, I guess. So like that's where my mind is going with this right now.
That kind of looks like an igloo in Antarctica. And then you got like, I don't know, planets or things, animals flying around in a rainbow. I love it. That's great. Okay. I love how art can be interpreted in so many different ways, you know. Okay. Something's not right. Does anybody, all right, let me, you want to go? Okay. Corey's going to say goodbye. Say goodbye to Corey, everybody. Bye, Corey.
Bye, Corey.
Bye, Corey. Maybe you'll see her next week. She'll continue to work on her collage. Okay. Yeah, you want to go ahead, Sue Ann? Let's see yours. Okay, go ahead. Your pins. Go ahead.
See.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I can't see it.
Hold it up again, Sue Ann.
Here.
Bye, Corey. Thank you so much. You can go out that way. You don't have to do it. Thank you so much for participating. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Oh, nice, Sue Ann. That's beautiful. I love it. Oh, and you do
I
have
got
craft
thinking
scissors.
shears.
Oh,
Did you guys notice that Sue Ann has craft scissors?
Very nice.
Very nice, Sue Ann. Love it.
Thanks, Bridget.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. So did you have any thoughts about home or reflections about home while you were working on that, or just enjoying your?
Not really.
That's okay. That's okay. We can connect these collages on any of these layers, right? We're gonna have more than one opportunity to connect our feelings about home or our connections to people in our life on many levels. There's gonna be like, just like an onion. I think Shrek said that, right? Like it's like on many layers of an onion that make up who we are, right? Okay. Does anybody else want to share? Ruby or Lynette? Oh, wait, here, Lynette has one. Hold on. There you go. Oh, nice. Oh, you actually made a house.
That's nice.
It's,
Oh, I
it's
love
supposed to,
Wow.
supposed to be fish.
Oh, they're fish. But it looks like a oh, wow.
Very nice.
I love them.
I like it.
The one on the right definitely kind of looks like a shark, like with its mouth and the bottom. I love it. Like, that's cool. But I like how they reference the shape of like a house.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Well, look, yeah, because look, I know that Ruby's here today, right? Ruby. That's beautiful, and that's so beautiful. Look, this is I wanted to remember I was talking about my students.
Yeah.
This is her little house, you guys.
Oh,
Isn't that so cute? Ruby, did you see it?
That's very cute.
Isn't that so cute? That's Heavenly's house.
uh-huh.
That's the same shape, Lynette, as your fish, like the roof.
I see.
Yeah, like the roof is like the triangle on top with the fish. That was
Oh,
beautiful. I
yeah.
love it. I love it. Diane, you don't have your video on, right?
No, but I'm gonna try to get that fixed this week.
Okay. All right. Let us know if you get it fixed. That sounds fine. And Ruby, did you want to share? How's your, oh, nice. Oh, you did a lot of, oh, I love it. Oh, nice. You did a lot of really cool round shapes. I love those round shapes. Wow,
I
it
don't
looks like a butterfly at the bottom.
I don't see Ruby.
I
She's
didn't see
spotlight.
Ruby.
She's right here. She's spotlit. She's showing her picture.
Oh,
She
wow.
is?
Yeah, can you guys see the biggest, the picture? That's her. She's sitting in the dark.
No, can't see her at all.
Oh,
I
wait.
can't see her either at all.
You guys see her now? Wait, hang on.
Did I
Yeah.
take a picture of it and then email it to you?
Yeah.
Oh, now I see Ruby.
No, I
Yeah.
just changed. Sometimes the spotlight
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
come on.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's nice, Ruby.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. All right, great. Awesome. Now, Miss Betty, did you do one today or are you gonna do it later?
I'm gonna do it later. 'cause
Okay,
I have
that's
to hurry.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. So thanks everybody for sharing. So what I'd love to see you guys do, wait, I'm gonna spotlight myself. What I'd love to see you do is do a couple more of these this week. So,
Uh-huh.
so you guys have 5 boards, and what we just established was sort of how to make a background layer to sort of begin the collage, right? Now, you saw in the group, some people covered the whole panel like Corey. Some people like Hamina left a lot of empty space. I left, I'd say, a little bit of space, right? Miss Lynette left some space in there. I think it's fine. I don't think too much about these things. I just keep moving on and making work. Okay, so if I were all of you, I would start on panel number 2 or panel number 3. And the idea is to really do this one step again so that we have panels prepped to go to step 2. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to all of them, you can always go backwards after next week's class or whatever, you know, your time is your time. But I would encourage you to do it again while you're not on Zoom and you're in your own atmosphere and you're playing around with the paper. So you have 4 more boards, right, to work on. And then next week, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some brayer, we're gonna do some color paint and paint over this and some mark making techniques to these boards, which is gonna be really fun. All right, as far as cleanup goes, if you have a plate like this with glue on it, I don't even wash these plates. I just let them dry and then I reuse them as glue plates, okay? So I don't even really worry about all the fuss and muss about washing a glue plate. I just let it stay gluey and I put it in my pile of dirty paint plates, right? But don't put another plate on top of it. It'll glue. And then for these brushes, I wash these in soap and water. And I reuse these brushes, okay? Maybe after class, you're gonna glue another panel or glue some more papers on or do another piece, then you can continue to work, okay?
Okay, Leah,
Also,
Leah.
yes,
can you hear me?
yes,
The empty spaces, we have to fill those in too.
no, absolutely not. I don't want you to. I want you to let empty be empty, right? Because I do think that emptiness is equally important to full. And feeling
Okay.
empty represents emptiness and it needs to stay empty. Also, like for somebody's work who's more minimalistic and they didn't put as many pieces of paper, that's significant, okay? That means something. It's not to be ignored. You're not doing something just because you were told to do it. You're actually making art because you're making decisions, right? So if I could define art, I would define it as a sequence of decisions that you, the artist, are making, okay? And having the faith and courage to believe in your decisions is also part of being a great artist, right? Okay, so if you left empty spaces, please leave them empty because they're gonna start to create some interesting effects when we do the next class, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I don't
Thank you.
have anything else to share today. Does anybody else have anything they want to share?
Does everybody have your email? We have your email, right?
You have my email. Yeah, Leah, I can put it in the chat too. My email is leahwax number 1 at Gmail. Yep. Yep, leahwax number 1 at Gmail. Wait, I think I wrote exclamation point. That is not my email. leahwax1. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Number 1, not exclamation point. Oh, sorry. There you go. There you go. That's with the real email address. Please stand up. There it is. There, ladies and gentlemen. leahwax number 1. Yeah, there you go. Well, welcome to my classroom here. I'll give you a little 360 tour. So this is my classroom. It's kind of messy right now, but I'm an artist. I'm allowed.
Yeah.
This is my little classroom. Yay. So I will be here next week at 2:30. And just bring your art supplies and bring your collage, your layer number 1 boards, okay?
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.
everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Have a great
Okay.
Wash your brushes. Wash your brushes.
All right.
All
bye.
right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Great
Bye.
class. See you
Bye.